I'm Craig Shields, and I'm here with my colleague John Perlin. We're talking about his book, Let It Shine, the 6,000-Year Story of Solar Energy. And John, you were just about to get into this. We're in the middle 20th century, and we're talking about the controversies that were raging in the United States about the development of nuclear weaponry, the fact that the citizenry generally was terrified of the possible nuclear consequences of the Cold War. So how do you put a happy face on something that's so demonstrably destructive, and it's just 10 years after we blew up half of Japan?
Well, very easily what you do, and this is what was done in the world, is the United States began the Atoms for Peace program, where we said we can turn all the weapons into plowshares, and actually there was a nuclear program called Operation Plowshare, and provide the world with free energy.
Okay.
And we would start a new era called the nuclear era.
Okay.
And this took on a life of its own, where the entire American culture, between the unions, corporate, scientists, political entities, liberal, conservative, communists, Russians, all joined in.
I see. Very interesting. And so here, this is the kind of jumping off point where nuclear goes one way and photovoltaics goes another. Why don't you talk about the dynamics by which that happens?
Well, photovoltaics, at first, when Bell Laboratories discovered a new device that could convert enough sunlight for useful amounts of electricity. Greatest breakthrough in solar energy in 1954 it happened. But this was in 1954 when we began the Atoms for Peace program, and the United States gave away about $10 billion worth of research and funding for nuclear development, and not a penny for solar. But there was a very interesting person named Hans Ziegler, and I got to know him. He came over from Germany. He was a Nazi, and he wanted to redeem himself. And he became the head of the U.S. Signal Corps, which is the power arm of the military. He read about the discovery at Bell Labs, went over to Bell Labs, debriefed them, and became what we call a solar zealot. I have his lab notes where he talks about this 2 weeks after Bell discovery was announced, that he figured out how the whole country could be powered by the Bell solar cell.
Wow. And if I'm not mistaken, this was a breakthrough associated with material science that took the efficiency from 0.1% to a handful of percent, correct?
Well, actually, the breakthrough was from about max 0.4%.
Okay.
To when they made the presentation, 6%.
Wow. So that's still a 15-fold increase or whatever.
Well, also there were theoretical findings was this could be ratcheted up to about 24% with further research and development.
Right. Which is essentially where it is now for polycrystalline.
Exactly.
Okay. So tell me more about the dynamics of that time period. In other words, who were the powerful voices, and what were they saying vis-a-vis solar energy?
Well, the entire country, with the exception of Hans Ziegler, had a titular head of the Signal Corps, was saying nuclear and solar is something for 1,000 years later. They laughed at the faint rays of the sun coming down at only 70 degrees or 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and nuclear at 1,000 degrees, and getting boiling water at very high temperatures.
What year are you talking about now?
I'm talking about 1955.
Well, by then, I'm surprised to hear you say that, because the advent of quantum mechanics, 60 years earlier, or let's just say 40 years earlier, meant that people understood that photons have inertia, and that that light behaves sometimes like a wave and sometimes like a particle, but that there's energy associated with light that is not only heat. Yes, we get heat from the sun, but there's energy in that light, and the insulation of a square meter of the planet's surface is measured in 1,000 watts.
Right, but you have to understand the human mind, like, changes very slowly. In fact, today, about a month ago, I took Lois's capture up to see the photovoltaic array at UCSB that I was responsible for putting in. And we got right over the installation, and she said, "Where is it? I don't hear it." You know, so it takes a long, it's like Max Planck said when asked about whether or not quantum mechanics would ever take over. And he said, the people who oppose it now will die, and the people who are entering university will consider it the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm trying to say is the mindset still today, you watch Fox News, for example, they do not believe that these little, maybe 60 microns of semiconductor material can produce the same amount, same type of electron that a coal power station produces. In fact, I just talked to someone a week ago watching the solar arrays on the bike path, and her comment was, you know, they produce electricity that's much more fragile. And I tried to tell her that all electrons are equal.
Right. Your toaster doesn't care, where that
Electron comes
came
from.
Exactly.
And
right.
so we, I mean, you look at those ads on television where the real guy is a guy who drives a 5 or 6 ton pickup, right? And works in a, what we would call a thermodynamic job, which is really manly. But we have these wimpy, effeminate solar cells that don't have no moving parts. They require no water. They just sit there. They don't emit any pollutants. I mean, they can't be the same.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's a really difficulty for people to accept that the first, actually, photovoltaics is the first quantum power source we have. To accept that.
Yes, I understand. I'm with you all the way. Okay.